So the main goal for me right now is just to encourage you all. If you care about LGBT equality, start having conversations. You may not be hired for the campaign right now, right? You may not all be organizers, but you can practice by starting to have these conversations. And if I get word that you're having the conversations, I'll call you and maybe I can get you a job. That's not a promise. We'll see what I can do, okay? So just to say, the road ahead is really tough. As we look at the polls, it's a close race. People are conflicted, and they need to sit and really think about this. And so that's why sharing your stories really matter. We know that right now, one of the biggest fears for both Michelle and I is that during campaigns like this, the increase in violence and harassment towards the LGBT community goes up tremendously. And it's about time that we protect our family and our community members, and we can't let that happen. So I would just like to end with saying there's no room for complacency in this fight. The outcome is too important and will fundamentally impact the lives of our friends and neighbors and define the kind of Minnesota we will be for many years to come. So we need each and every one of you supporters, to engage in the campaign, to engage in speaking with your friends and your neighbors on behalf of allowing this basic freedom to their fellow Minnesotans. So I encourage you all, if you care about this issue, to have conversations. They may be tough, but you have to do it if we're going to change this state and make sure that this state protects our family members and our community members and our children. If you'd like to talk to me about how to have those conversations, I will be available for the rest of the evening. And if you would like to talk to me about how to get involved in this campaign, I will also be available to talk to you about that, as I am the youth organizing director, and I hope to get to know some of you all and engage you in this fight. And now I'm going to have Michelle, who has been a part of the anti-violence program and the anti-bullying program, to talk about how this amendment and how that violence and the increase in violence is really going to harm our community.
Thank you, Siobhan. So yeah, I started with Outfront Minnesota and the anti-violence program. My passion is for working with folks that are survivors of violence, domestic abuse, sexual assault, hate crimes, and ultimately I'd like to see it prevented. I believe prevention is where we need to go with violence against the LGBT communities, and that's what drew me to the anti-violence program. Within the anti-violence program, I really took a passion to youth and their experiences in schools and school bullying and harassment. I'm sure you've all paid attention to the news. You know this is a hot topic right now. Obviously, it's been around as long as we can remember, but like right now it's being addressed. This is the time that there's a lot of momentum around the issue of safe schools and the anti-bullying and harassment of youth. Outfront focuses a lot on LGBTQ youth, but we truly do believe that if we create safe spaces for LGBTQ youth, we are creating safe spaces for all youth. Our work falls into two different coalitions, the Minnesota School Outreach Coalition and the Safe Schools for All Coalition, both of which work on the very micro to macro levels of creating safe spaces for youth. As Siobhan said, as this marriage amendment has moved forward, there has and there will be an increase in harassment and bullying in schools and hate crimes. This has been shown in other states with similar fights. So what I want to do is have you share your stories as it relates to bullying and harassment in our schools. An amazing opportunity is going on right now. The Governor Dayton has formed a task force on the prevention of school bullying. And right now they are touring around the state and offering listening sessions for folks to tell their experiences, whether you're a community member, a parent, a student, a staff member in schools. You have an opportunity to share what your experiences are in schools regarding bullying and harassment. There's information on the table by the door, and I will also talk to you about that if you're interested. I think it's important to know that our state right now is really paying attention to violence in schools, and this is our opportunity to strengthen those bullying and harassment laws. There's lots of information on the table about what the law currently looks like, what we want it to look like. I'm a resource for you if that's something you're interested in. But as we move forward and think about sharing our stories and creating safe spaces and equal rights, I just want to bring it, the constitutional amendment fight is going to get ugly, and we want to make sure we can affirm people's identities in communities, in families, and in the schools. And it's important to be informed of the issues so you can understand how how these political debates affect our youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we're going to hold a brief intermission, about 10 minutes, during which time there will be a video playing. Please feel free to stay and watch the video. It sort of gives a certain level of context to what the two speakers were talking about. So please stay. Also, be thinking about any questions you might have that you would want the panelists to answer. If you did not get a chance to grab a note card, we do have note cards still, because that is the forum in which we'll be doing this, just to kind of move things along. You'll be writing your questions, and then I will read them for the panel. If at any point, if we have too many questions and we can't fit it into the time frame, and for some reason your question wasn't answered, you can certainly feel free to approach us, approach the panel, approach the speakers, approach whomever it is you feel comfortable to get your question answered that way. So at this point, we'll start the video, start the intermission. After 10 minutes, I'll call us back to order, and we'll start the Q&A. All right, I think we're getting